4 more days till I get to see The Dark Knight Rises prologue, and only 2 more weeks till Christmas. But in the meantime, I have a review for you guys. Not to mention the review, an early review for a really anticipated movie by Steven Spielberg. I know most of you guys are thinking right now, what the hell is that? As you can tell, I'm very excited because this Friday is my last day of school, and then I'm on winter break. And that Friday, I get to go see Mission Impossible early, 5 days early at my IMAX theater. And they were showing The Dark Knight Rises prologue that whole day at the IMAX theater that day in the whole country. So I am so pumped to see it because Bane is in The Dark Knight Rises prologue. He's one of my favorite villains, probably my second or third favorite. So I'm pumped for that, and of course pumped for Christmas, the greatest holiday of all. In the meantime, though, I got a early review for The Adventures of Tintin, the new Steven Spielberg motion capture flick, and I'm here to review it for you guys. Adventures of Tintin is like a British Indiana Jones to me. It's really about a boy named Tintin who's like, looks like he's like 14, but he has his own apartment, and he's like a reporter, so I don't know, maybe in Britain they have like lighter laws. He buys this ship called the Unicorn, and through a series of events, he meets up with this captain played by Andy Serkis, who, you know, is Caesar in Rise of the Apes, and one of my favorite movie of the year, and I hope he gets nominated for that movie. But back to the story, he meets up with him, and they go on the adventure to find the secret of the ship, which supposedly holds a huge treasure that the captain's ancestor left behind, while they try to battle off Daniel Craig's villain, who is trying to get the treasure as well. So it's like a race to the finish. It's like Pirates of the Caribbean mixed with Indiana Jones, and a lot of spotty and a lot of British humor. I'm going to say straight off the bat, the best animation I've seen this year. I'm not going to say the best animated movie, but the physical animation is gorgeous. And I really don't like motion capture or stop motion or whatever you call it, where besides Rise of the Apes, where Andy Serkis is the master of, like Polar Express and films like those, they just look so awkward and they don't look like real people at all, and I'd rather just have typical animation. But here, it's some of the best animation I've ever seen. I mean, sometimes during the movie when they would introduce new characters, I mean, when they showed Tintin for the first time, I had to do a double take. I'm like, is that a real person? Really, that's animation? Holy crap. The voice acting is really great. You can't even recognize half of the people. I didn't know Daniel Craig was the villain until the credits showed, and Jamie Bell does Tintin, who I can't remember where he's from. I think he's from the Eagle, but I'm not sure. And Simon Pegg and Nick Frost are these two bumbling policemen, and Andy Serkis, like I said, is the captain, and he is great too. So everybody in the voice acting is great. What I really liked about this movie is the chase scenes and the action. Holy crap, some of these chase scenes and action scenes, along with the beautiful animation, are really striking. There's this one chase scene in particular that my jaw was literally to the floor. It was so good. It was really creative, really on the edge of your seat. And I was watching it at home, so I didn't get to see it in 3D, and I didn't have a huge screen, but even just sitting in my living room, the chase scene was perfect. I love that chase scene. One action scene near the climax of the film that I thought was very good. So the action and the chase scenes were all impeccably well directed by Steven Spielberg, which lets me into my next point, is the direction. Now, the direction of this movie, like I said, Steven Spielberg directed it, is pitch perfect. I don't think I've seen Steven Spielberg ever do an animated film. This might be his first, but all I can say is he directs the movie perfectly. The color palettes are really nice. There's a lot of great landscapes like the desert and some of the villages that they go to and the ocean and stuff. It's just really gorgeous looking stuff. But what really wowed me, and I don't know if this was, I'm sure this was Steven Spielberg's idea, or at least some of these were, but the transitions in this movie are so good. I know that's a weird thing to compliment a movie for, but the editing and transitions are incredibly clever and incredibly just like awe-inspiring. Like, why couldn't I think of that? That is genius. Like, just some of the stuff, like, they transition into some stuff that you, so well that you're like, how they even think of that? Like, they have a guy's, like, hand or something, and then transitions into the next scene so well, and you're like, how did they even think that crap up? I gotta praise the editing team, and possibly Steven Spielberg if he had some of those ideas, because it was fantastic, and it was just like, I couldn't wait for the next scene to see if they would do a transition. I don't think I've ever been excited for an edit in a movie, ever, but congrats, Tintin, you were the first. John Williams, classic score. I think he did the Rambo theme, which is one of my favorite themes, and I know you guys are going to crucify me for this, but I believe he did Indiana Jones. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure. I know you're going to crucify me in the comments, but Indiana Jones, another one of my all-time favorite themes, a classic theme, and his score's really good. At some points it felt kind of TV-ish near the beginning, but during the action sequences and times of suspense, it was, like, really great, and it really fit the mood perfectly, because it was, like, a British kind of old-school type of feel, so some of the music in here really fit perfectly. I watched it at home, so I didn't get the full effect, but I would definitely say when this movie comes out, see it in a theater, see it in 3D, because watching this movie, I could tell this is a great 3D movie. It's not like in your face like that type of stuff, but it is really good, and it looks like a film that must be seen in the theater. I might even go check the film out again when it comes out in the theater. Unfortunately, there are some problems I had with the film, and it definitely prevents it from being one of the best movies I've seen this year, because I was really liking it, but there was a couple of major problems I had with it. First 30-35 minutes of this movie is really slow. Like, it's a lot of setup, and a lot of build-up, and I was into it for the first 15 minutes, and then there's like a 30-minute span after that, that really is slow. I'm like, okay guys, you need to pick it up here, because you're really losing my interest, and then fortunately they do with an action scene, and then a couple parts after that too still felt kind of slow, so I was kind of waiting for the action scene, but by the 45-50 minute mark it was really great from on there. But that's going to be a huge problem with some people. They're going to be like, please pick up, movie, please pick up, and I definitely was having that. Story can seem kind of complex when the story is actually very simple, and sometimes it can get lost and kind of muddled in some of the shenanigans that they do, or they kind of get off track, or they really overly explain it. Kind of one of the problems I had with Inception, like they kind of make it more complicated than it has to be. The story itself, while you do want to see what happens and you want to see what the secret of the ship is, it is a rather unoriginal story that doesn't really keep me invested all the time. Even though I mentioned the action sequence and the climax being great, and it is, after that the movie is in like its last 10 minutes and you're like, oh, it's already here, and I was really just getting into it kinda, and they kind of get to where they're wanting to go, and then stuff happens, and then it just kind of ends, and I was like, wow, I was really just getting into it, why do I have to stop now? So that's a problem I had with me. The payoff didn't seem like the full satisfying thing that I wanted it to be. Overall, I think Tintin would be a great movie to experience in the theater. I still really enjoyed it and watched it at my home, but I definitely suggest you see it in IMAX 3D or regular 3D, because I'm sure it will be a fun experience. Other than that, the movie is really solid besides those problems I had with it. I don't think it's one of Steven Spielberg's best films, but I think for a first animated film, it's definitely a good start. So I'm going to give Adventures of Tintin 3.5 stars out of 5. It's a solid film, but it's not one of the best of the year. The movie definitely sets up for a sequel. Very intentional sequel coming up. So I liked it enough to where I would be interested to see how these adventures continue and how the story progresses. So just to let you know, if you go see the film, there's definitely going to be another one, especially because it's doing great business overseas. I'm really looking forward to Mission Impossible, and when I see it, I'm going to do a Mission Impossible review and the Dark Knight Rises prologue review separately, so stay tuned for that at the end of the week. Once again, thanks for watching, comment, rate, and subscribe, and see you guys later.